Hello, this is Frankie for the Pixel Slayers. I have a little tiny little portable today from everybody's favorite company, so stay tuned. Okay, so you're probably wondering what this little guy is. This is the AtGames Arcade Gamer Portable, and that probably means absolutely nothing to most of you. Basically what this thing is a mini Game Gear. Imagine if they made a Game Gear Pocket back in the 90s. Well, it wouldn't even been possible back in the 90s, but that's essentially what we have here. This little guy was made for like 1 year. I believe they only had like two actual releases, one in black and red and one in black and yellow. I paid a little bit too much for this used just because you can't find them anywhere. They only had 2 releases, like I said, so they're really hard to find these days. And basically there's 30 Game Gear games and Master System games on here. And it's surprisingly not bad for an AtGames product. There's a couple of issues, but for something that was originally this big back in the day, to get, you know, literally like a mini version of a Game Gear with a bunch of games, it was pretty nifty back in 2013 when it was first released. I believe it was re-released back in 2015, but they only saw 1 run each, and not really many in America. They came out in Europe and Canada, and I believe under a different company back in Brazil, because the Game Gear, the Master System actually was pretty popular over there. But this thing is really hard to find, actually. You can find the Sega Genesis portables all day long from AtGames, and those are garbage. Those are hot garbage. Those have lag issues, sound issues. This thing, all it has is a slight sound issue in certain games when you first start them. I'll show you what I mean right now, actually. So let's get this thing turned on. The screen is actually not that bad. That's pretty good viewing angles for what it is. Its biggest problem is it's too tiny. It's very tiny. It's a 2.4-inch screen. The buttons, though, are actually pretty comfortable. They keep the Game Gear design as far as the buttons, like the D-pad and the 2 buttons in the start. The thing I loved about the Game Gear is these buttons are kind of like really comfortable to hold because they're a curve, like to your thumb. And they kind of keep that design, if you notice. They keep the curve design with the buttons. And the D-pad is more like a little directional stick thumb, but it's actually pretty comfortable. It fits your thumb pretty well. It's almost like a big giant button. And these are spaced just perfectly. So to be honest with you, it's a pretty dang nice portable. Let's start Triple Trouble. I used to play this all the time back in the day. So you hear that? That's sped up a lot. And the sound's slightly off. But once you get into the game, the sound kind of fixes itself a little bit. I mean, the tone is not right, but it's not as bad once you get into the game. It's just for some reason when you start up the game, that Sega sound is very sped up. It's really bizarre. And that seems to be the case with most of these titles. It's not that different than the original hardware there. As far as slowdown, it doesn't seem to be existent. It starts and plays just right. It's just that sound is just off slightly. Yeah. It seems like in AtGames fashion, they just can't make a handheld or any kind of anything without sound issues. So I'm not going to make anybody else listen to that again. I'll turn that down. But yeah, just to give you an idea, you get 30 games. Let me go ahead and go back to the menu. Has a little easy to use menu button up here and the start button right there. Same with the Game Gear. Kind of kept the Game Gear format there, which I really appreciate. Kind of wish this was made by Sega. Can you imagine if Sega made this themselves through 30 Game Gear games, like a Game Gear Portable that wasn't the size of your thumb, and you know, did this? I would buy this in a heartbeat. I'd probably pay $100 at least for it. Like, they would just, I'd be like, take my money, Sega. Maybe that'll happen one day. But until then, we just have the big Game Gear this thing, and that thing, the thumb gear. But yeah, if you look at the games list, it's a pretty nice list of games. I'm just going to go through the list. You can pause it if you want to look at them. Some of these games, like Tales Adventures, cost like $50 and that's cheap if you can find it cheap. So like you definitely get your money's worth with the games that it comes with, and it does come with a nice selection of games. But it does have that sound issue. Now, one nice benefit of this system is it does have an SD AV out, so it just uses the little headphone jack plug type style in here, the little 3.5 millimeter jack, and then AV to your TV, and you can play this on your TV. It's a little cropped, but it plays and it does all right. And it's running off of batteries, and it just uses your regular AAA batteries on the back. It's a pretty unique system. It has a headphone jack, but I don't recommend you do that to yourself. You do not need to hear that sound in your ears. It does not sound very pleasant. But overall, it feels great in the hands. The button layout's great. The game selection's great. It's a great system, being held back by AtGames as usual. That sound, it's just, if it wasn't for the sound, this would be the perfect little system. The screen is small, but it's no smaller than like a Game Boy Pocket back in the day. Maybe a little smaller, but honestly, with its really good quality screen, it's not that bad having such a tiny screen. I mean, it's a lot tinier than the original Game Gear screen, as you can see, but because it's so bright, using newer technology LCD panel, it's definitely an improvement. But it's just held back by that sound. Now, you could probably overlook that sound. It doesn't last forever. Like I said, it seems like it starts out fast and then slows back down. But even when it slows back down, it's still slightly off. If you're purist like me, you're going to notice it. I own a lot of these games already. I have a huge Game Gear collection. I grew up with the Game Gear, and it's one of my favorite systems. So something like this is kind of pointless for me because I own a lot of these games already. But if you say you wanted to play Tales Adventures for some reason, and you didn't want to spend the crazy amount of money it's going for, this is used for $25 on up, and if you're lucky, you could probably get a new one for about $70 or a little bit less after shipping. So these are definitely hard to find. I'm still holding out hope that this video is going to be obsolete when Sega announces a true Game Gear Mini. Maybe that'll happen one day. I'm not holding my breath though. But overall, pretty nice little system for just like the Game Gear hardcore that really wants something more modern, and you're willing to overlook a couple of issues. I can't, I don't like giving out number scores, but I give it a solid 7. And if it was any other system, I'd probably give it a 6 if I'm honest with you. But it's the only thing on the market like it, and it has a good list of games. It's just that sound. So keep watching our videos for more great content, and stay tuned for more cool stuff. Thanks. Bye.